Ready? All right. Good evening, everyone. This meeting is called to order. I'm Mayor Beverly H. Burks, and we will do roll call, starting with Councilwoman Bell.
Present.
Councilman Perkins.
Present.
Councilwoman Bayonne.
Present.
Councilman Moore.
Here.
Is Councilwoman Adi online? Okay, not yet. And Vice Mayor Johnson is not going to be here this evening. With that, I need a motion to make any changes to the agenda.
I have a motion.
Yes.
I move that remove item 6D under new business to discuss the appointment of Marcy Healy to the Downtown Development Authority for a term set to expire on December 31st, 2026.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded that we will remove from the agenda 6D to discuss the appointment of Marcy Haley to the Downtown Development Authority for a term set to expire on December 31st, 2026. Is there any further discussion? You ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay. Motion passed. With that, we'll move to item 3, which is presentations administrative business, starting with A, Parks and Recreation Context Analysis and Need and Priority Assessment. City Manager.
Representative from Perez is here tonight to give us a presentation on the context analysis and needs and priorities assessment for the Parks and Rec Master Plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Good evening. I'm Nick Stevens with Perez Planning and Design. I'm excited to be here to talk to you about Clarkston Pathways to Play, your Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So next slide. Today we're just going to be going through the first 2 phases of the plan that we've completed, the context analysis and the needs and priorities assessment. Next slide. We're going to give you an overview of the project purpose, overview of our approach and the schedule, and then we'll cover our findings to date and then discuss next steps and take any questions you have. And I'm going to try to keep it moving. I promised Director Duncan and the City Manager I'd keep it at 20 minutes. So we have a lot that we want to cover, but I'll keep it moving. So the purpose, as you know, is to produce a guiding document for future development and redevelopment of the community's parks and recreation system over the next 10 years and beyond. It's to serve as a roadmap for ensuring equitable proximity and connections to the parks and recreation system. It's a system-wide approach to developing goals, policies, and guidelines, and it'll prioritize strategies based on the current and future funding scenarios. Next slide, please. Our approach is a 5-step strategic planning process. Each phase builds on the previous phases. So, as I've mentioned, we started with these first 2 phases, context analysis and needs and priorities assessment. Now we'll be moving into the vision phase, where we'll start to develop costs for our recommendations and projects. Then the implementation phase, which covers the funding alternatives and the prioritization of projects. And then lastly, the full plan will be developed and brought before this council for adoption. So the second phase, just a little bit more about this needs and priorities assessment, is really where we bring in all of the data and start to understand where the city's needs and priorities are. And we bring in these multiple data sources because we've learned that there's no single way to understand all of a city's parks and recreation needs. So we use this triangulated approach with qualitative, quantitative, and secondary data. And where all of those sources overlap is how we identify the citywide needs and priorities. Next slide, please. Here's the project schedule. We started back in April of last year. Through the summer and fall, we conducted our public events and public engagement. And now we're wrapping up those first 2 phases, and we're moving into that vision phase in March. Once the vision is done, we'll come and present that again, and then we'll be wrapping up in May or early June of this year. Next slide. Here are some of the highlights from our public engagement, like I said, over the last summer and fall. So we conducted a statistically valid survey, and that was completed with over 280 responses. Based on the number of questions in that survey, which was about 25 questions, that was over 9,000 total responses. We also conducted 2 public events, and over 1,200 opinion dots were collected at those events, and we hosted 3 focus group meetings. Next slide, please. All right, so now we can get into our findings to date. And I want to start by saying we have identified these 3 overall summary concepts that really encapsulate all of the data that you're about to see. And so everything that we've learned can really fall under one of these categories, whether it's upgrading, a need to upgrade the system, to expand, adding new facilities and programming, and then lastly, to better connect the Parks and Recreation system. And so that is through both physical connections, sidewalks and trails, but also through marketing and outreach and just better signage and things to let people know what's going on in the parks. Next slide. We start, of course, with an inventory of your park system, and we know that you have 8 parks covering about 43.3 total acres. You have your 3 big community parks, and then 4 mini parks. And then lastly, what we consider one special use park is the Women's Club, which of course hosts that historic community center around 2,000 total square feet. Next slide.
I'd like to point out a typo.
We'll get to that later.
Okay.
Okay.
Give me an email.
Another critical piece of that initial context is understanding your demographics. And of course, we know Clarkston has a very unique set of demographics. So, and one of the first things we looked at is population growth. And we know that between 2015 and 2025, based on census data, you added over 2,500 people following the annexation. So a growth of almost 21%. However, between 2020 and 2025, it appears that you may have actually lost around 200 residents, which aligns with the trends that we've seen under the federal administration with the reduction in refugee resettlement and immigration. But overall, given that growth and given the growth trends in communities around the Metro Atlanta, we expect that there will be continued growth over the next 10 years. And so the relevance for us as parks planners is that it suggests potentially a need for more facilities, programs, et cetera, given that we would expect you want to continue providing the same levels of service that your residents have become accustomed to. From a race and ethnicity standpoint, we know Clarkston is extremely diverse, with 9 in 10 people being Black, Indigenous, or people of color. 32% are foreign-born, and nearly 50% speak a foreign language at home. So for us, that means that we ensure access to that diverse community, providing education and multilingual resources to help strengthen the community. Age distribution was a really interesting side of things here, which we didn't necessarily expect, but 1 in 6 persons, 15% of the community is under age 5, which is extremely high, especially relative to communities, adjacent communities in DeKalb County as a whole. And 1 in 3, more than 3 people, over around 38% is under 18. So you have an extremely young population. Of course, a quarter of your population is middle-aged, and then just 4% are seniors over 65, which is quite low. So overall, that for us means we want to focus on that youth population. But of course, in providing parks and recreation services, you do want to always be mindful of multi-generational spaces and activities. On the poverty side, we know that you do have 34% of your residents under the poverty line, and 51% of youth under 18 are living in poverty. So just being very mindful of that and ensuring that you're providing pricing and support for residents with very low incomes. And then lastly, just housing. We know you have a very high renter-occupied housing stock at 82%, and 73% of your residents are living in multi-unit structures, which is particularly relevant for us in parks planning because we know that residents that live in single-family homes are often able to provide at least a few of those parks and recreation experiences, like tossing the ball or letting their dog out in their own yard. But when you live in a multi-unit structure, that's less of an opportunity. Next slide, please. It's also really important for us that we build on the work that the city's been doing, and we know you've been doing a lot of great planning work, and some of this has already really been moved into an implementation phase. So when we started, we immediately got in touch with the city agricultural plan, and were able to connect with them and are incorporating their recommendations. We also were fortunate to work on the Greenway study, so we're incorporating all those plans for the trails and new green spaces into our work. And then, of course, building on your most recent comp plan and the LCI update, and now starting to work with the team that's completing your new update to your comprehensive plan. So, we believe that this work doesn't occur in a vacuum, but that we really want to integrate with all the other planning work and development that's occurring in the city. Next slide. All right, so now we can get into our findings, and one of the first things we did last fall was to evaluate all of your parks. We have a score sheet that we've developed over years that includes 5 categories and 23 subcategories that we use to analyze the park system. So it's a very rigorous assessment, and we know it is a bit subjective, but it's still important for us to try to understand how well your parks are functioning. And so overall, your system scored 2.9, which is fair, and that's very expected for a system of this size and age, knowing that you have some parks that were originally developed a long time ago. And you can see, fortunately, some of your larger parks scored pretty well, and just a few of those really mini parks didn't score as well. That's kind of a result of them having minimal uses based on their size. Next slide, please. So some of the strengths in all of the parks was their ease in walking to parks, and that's a reflection of a lot of the streetscape and sidewalk work you've been doing recently. A lot of the parks have a great feeling of safety. There's clear sight lines, a lot of access points. And then, of course, the ability of the facilities to effectively support your current programming is going well, with the pool and the field at Milam Parks really supporting the programming that you're offering currently. Some of those opportunities include improved clarity of information and signage, better ADA compliance and lighting and protection from bad weather through gazebos and pavilions and other things like that. And then lastly, branding and marketing promotional efforts. And that then goes back to that idea of better connecting the park system to residents through outreach and signage. Next slide, please. Just a few more highlights from our public engagement. We know from the survey conductor that 20% of the surveys were completed in a foreign language. And ETC Institute, who conducted the survey, has been doing surveys in communities across America for decades, and they told us that's one of the highest percentages they've ever seen. Those top languages were Persian, Somali, Swahili, Nepali, Burmese, French, Spanish, Arabic, and Pashto. So it seems to definitely align with your residents. They also told us that, often if there's one English speaker in the household, that person is more inclined to take something like this survey. So it definitely suggests that we got an accurate representation of your demographics. When we also met with the Lakeshore residents who live around the lake just north of Milam Park, we had a great meeting where we heard a lot of support for public access to that area, especially along Norman Road, with some limited amenities such as a path, benches, picnic tables, and an overlook. And we also heard a lot of interest in environmental improvements to the lake and even some programmed activities like fishing and bird watching. So we're looking forward to continue working with that group to ensure that everyone's goals are achieved. And then in our other focus groups, a few common themes emerged of preserving the remaining green space and forested areas in the city, better connecting neighborhoods through greenways and paths, increasing programming, especially for youth and seniors, bringing back some former popular programs that the city offered in years past, and that there's a whole lot of demand for field sports, especially soccer and cricket. And we know the city has already started providing soccer programming, so that's really a wonderful step in the right direction. Next slide, please. All right, this is getting into the results of that statistically valid survey. So one of the first and most important questions is just asking residents if they've been using the parks and how they feel about their quality. And what we found is that 84% of your residents visited a park in the last 4 years, which is fantastic. That's actually above the national average. On the other hand, only 57% rated your parks as excellent or good, which is a bit below the national average. So room for improvement there. Next slide. We also ask specifically about resident satisfaction with facilities, individual facilities. So you can see the top 3, walking and biking trails, large community parks, and the outdoor swimming pool. The majority of residents are satisfied with those facilities, which is great. And then on the other hand, all those other categories of facility there's room for improvement as they where either residents feel neutral or actually the majority feel dissatisfied. And I think just important to point out the bottom two are the number of parks you have and playgrounds. I think playgrounds being the lowest, satisfaction really stands out. Next slide, please. We also asked about participation in the quality of programs. And we know that about 1 in 4 of your residents participated in a program in the last 4 years, which is great, given that you've been offering relatively limited programming. And actually, they were rated, 75% rated those programs excellent or good, which is really great to see, just below the national average. Next slide. We asked residents how they would allocate $100 to fund the park system in terms of facilities and capital improvements. I think the takeaway here is that the number 1 category would be improvements to existing parks and recreation facilities, with about 1/5 of the money allocated to that. But the other thing is, when you combine all the spending on new facilities or improvements, so that would include new parks facilities in existing parks or new parks, a new indoor recreation center, acquiring a new parkland, or new walking and biking facilities, all of those new facilities actually adds up to more than will be spent on existing things. So it's always that balance. The highest thing is improving what you have, but then overall, more is desired to be spent on developing new facilities. Next slide, please. We also asked the same question, but about programs and operations. This one's even more striking in the sense that the number 1 category, over $23, residents want to be spent on increasing staff to improve the maintenance of parks and facilities. And then those other, top 3 remaining include additional adult recreation programs, additional youth recreation programs, and additional senior programs. And that would all be excluding athletics. So just very common to see that, but given the lack of programming you've been offering, I think it makes a lot of sense in that you're seeing that desire from your residents for more programming of all types. That's not athletics, which has a smaller interest group. Next slide. We ask residents, what's keeping you from using the park system more? What are those barriers to their facilities and program use? And number 1 is, I do not know what programs are being offered. So that's interesting to see. It's above the national average. And that's fortunately a relatively simple problem to solve. Again, going back to that marketing and outreach, just creating new ways to let residents know what you're providing. Number 2 is also, I do not know the location of parks. So it's related. It's just about understanding, letting residents know what's out there and how they can get to their parks. And then number 3, I would just add, I use facilities in other cities. It's interesting to see, just given that we know there are quite a few parks located just on the periphery of Clarkston by the county and other cities. So some of your residents may be using those facilities as that may be their local park. Next slide. Okay, these next 2 slides are a really great and valuable piece because it's something that ETC does where they ask a multi-part question about what facilities, amenities are important to you, and then how well are they being provided. And based on those 2 questions, they create this priority investment ranking. And so they have a high priority, medium priority, and low priority. And obviously, this is a great tool to begin prioritization. So I think what you see among all these high priority categories is one of the themes is definitely that desire for natural areas, which is obviously the number 1 highest priority need. And then also aligned with that is unpaved walking and hiking trails, food forest, edible landscaping, and paved multi-purpose trails. So all of those combined just suggest that desire, which we've seen across the industry for residents to get out into the community post-pandemic, or get out into natural spaces and forested areas. I think the other kind of theme that you see here is a lot of facilities related to indoor experiences. One of the highest ones up there is indoor pool. You also see indoor fitness equipment, a multi-generational center, and an indoor gym. All of those were considered high priorities. So I definitely suggest that desire from your residents for improved indoor experiences. Next slide, please. So we asked that same question about programs and activities. Again, it's that multi-part question. is this an important program or activity to you? And then how well are your needs being met? So I think this one is really striking because community special events scored 200, which essentially means that all the residents said that those are important to them, but that their needs are not being met. And I think that's, it's a great thing in a certain sense because it just means that your residents are desiring those special events that bring the whole community out and provide those opportunities for the diverse community to get together and bond. And then number 2 is nature programs, so that aligns with that theme from the facilities of those nature experiences. And then the other high priority programs and activities, I think really covers a broad range of programs and activities that reflects that kind of interest in increasing programming across a range of things, from movies and parks, which is typically a very high one, to cooking and nutrition classes, and youth, arts and drawing, and adult performing arts. So it really covers a broad range of programs and activities that are all considered high priority. Next slide. This question we ask is, are residents willing to pay additional taxes to improve the Parks and Recreation system? We know that property taxes and sales taxes are really the primary forms of funding park systems, so it's important for us to understand if residents would be willing to pay a little bit more in those taxes to support improvements to the park system over the next few years. And it was actually great to see that over half of your residents, the majority of residents, are willing to spend $5 to $6 a month in additional taxes. And I know Councilmember Perkins was having a discussion before this meeting about the kind of legislation going through the State House right now, which is looking at removing property taxes. So, it may be that there's an increase in sales tax that would be able to support future parks and recreation improvements. All right, this last section is about the level of service analysis. So these are techniques that we use in the industry to understand how well your park system is serving residents. And it starts with acreage level of service, which is just understanding how many acres of parkland are available to all of your residents. Next slide. So Clarkston has 4.6 acres of parkland for every 1,000 residents, which is pretty good. It's just below the National Recreation and Park Association median for communities of your size and density. We also compared you to Decatur and Norcross, just some nearby communities we worked in, and so you're a little bit below Decatur, but well above Norcross. And we know that if you don't add any parkland over the next 10 years and the population grows as projected, that number would go down. Next slide, please. The next level of service analysis we looked at is access. So this is understanding how far residents have to travel to access a park. And this 10-minute walk has become the national standard. So looking at all of your city parks, you have 36% of your population has access to a park within that 10-minute walk or a half mile. So we can see a lot of the city is well covered, but of course there is that gap along the north side of the city. When we add in those county parks that are right along the city edge, it does increase to 47%. So it's just important to be mindful of the benefit of those nearby parks. Next slide. When we think about just the community parks, those 3 larger parks, which we know are facilities that, based on their size, residents will be willing typically to travel a longer distance, whether that's a 20-minute walk or a 10-minute bike to access those. You have really great coverage of 77%. And 81% when you factor in those county parks. So that's really great to see that with those larger parks, you're really serving the vast majority of the residents. Next slide. Indoor square footage is similar to acreage. We're just looking at how many square feet of indoor space is available to residents. Considering just the Clarkston Women's Club, which is the only facility you currently have for programming, you have a very low service of 0.11. We did want to consider the nearby Toby Grant Rec Center and the Clarkston Community Center. As we know, there have been discussions around potentially using those facilities, and if you did have access or were able to gain access to provide programming in those, based on their square footage, that would bump the city's access to 2.74. So that's just a conversation we're going to continue having with Director Duncan to understand the viability of programming those spaces, or if you need to look at increasing your own space. What you'd need to get to the industry benchmark of what we would say is 1.5 square feet per capita by 2035 would be adding roughly 21,000 square feet of space. So that's a pretty standard size recreation center. Next slide. And this one I know is very small and a lot of data, but this is facilities level of service. So this is just looking at how many of these individual facilities are provided for each resident. So if there's just one facility, then that represents, the number is, represents your population, 15,192. Really the key here is that we compared you to peer cities, Decatur and Norcross, and also those NRPA benchmark cities. And then based on that NRPA median, we can see where you might have a need for a facility or a surplus. And some of the big ones that jump out are a need for playgrounds, which makes sense, given what we heard also from the statistically valid survey. A need for rectangular fields in particular, and a synthetic field, which has been an ongoing discussion at the city. So it's good to see that there's alignment with what other communities are providing. And then also just a few other things like basketball courts and tennis courts are particularly low in your service. Next slide. So again, just summarizing all of this, all of that data falls under these concepts, which we believe would be a need to overall upgrade what you have, to look at ways to expand, adding new facilities and parks where available, and then better connecting your system through both those physical connections and also improved marketing and outreach. And next slide. So just to cover the next steps, as I mentioned, we're going to be moving into the vision phase where we think about the best ways to address all of these needs and priorities, and we'll be connecting with Director Duncan and any other city staff that he wants to bring on to that discussion. And then, hopefully in a month or so, we'll come back to you with those recommendations. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Council. I know, did you have any questions?
No, I don't have questions. I do have okay.
Go ahead.
The question is, we don't have Milam Park listed in this. You've got the Pocket Park, Smith Street Pocket Park listed twice, number 3 and number 7. And number 7 should be Milam Park and Armistead Field.
Okay. Sorry about that.
So just want
Okay. Any other
to point that
comments? Councilwoman?
Thank
Bell.
you. So I have a question. So thank you for your presentation. So I'm looking at the statistical data that you have here as it relates to the 280 responses, which means that there were some inaccuracies in some of the responses that you got if y'all only had this statistically valid ones. Is that correct? It had to be something that was off. Either they didn't complete it all the way through or something. But do you know? You don't have to, if you don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you. And we can connect you with the survey provider as well, because they are statisticians, and they ensure that based on that number of responses, that is statistically valid at the 95% confidence level.
So one of the degrees that I'm getting now is to be a statistician.
Oh, great.
So that's why I'm asking you all the statistical data.
Yeah.
Because I think that there is an error somewhere, and this only calculates the 2% of the target population that you have here, which will not be statistically significant for the larger population that we have based off our full population. And if you could just give me a breakdown of the data set, because this is secondary data or primary data, and then I'm assuming this is a panel, like longitudinal, and I'll be quiet after this. But then there is an age gap, and if we're talking about parks, and then I see the survey that says adult services are needed, youth services are needed, and then 18 to 34, they're missing. Like on the chart, if you go to page 15, on here, and it says age distribution, which is the standard deviation of how many people we have below an age. But anything less than 18 is here, and then there's nothing from 18 to 34. And I wonder if they're the missing ones that we're going to be catering to.
Oh, no, that wasn't reflecting who took the survey. Those were just numbers that are calling out your actual demographics.
But you're still missing 18 to 34.
Yeah, no, we just didn't note that because we were calling out those specific populations that are particularly relevant to Parks and Recreation planning, that youth population, middle age, and then your senior population.
And you don't think the 18 to 34 is significant? because they're the middle.
Mhm.
They're the people that are probably just having children, or they have still children that are still occupying the park. So we might want to go back and look at that data. Okay.
See, when we get a class, look at her. We proud of her, boy. Look at that education.
Yeah,
Any other questions?
I'm happy to connect you also, with ETC. I think that'll be a great conversation, so you can clear up any of these discrepancies or questions. Yeah.
Council, do you have any other questions? Councilman Perkins?
So I had another question just on two questions related to, one related to access and then one related to acreage. So the access question, when you guys looked at, I noticed you had some of our other master plans that were coming together. We know the Greenway study and things like that. I'm sure you looked at that. I didn't hear, so I may have missed something, but I didn't hear anything looking at if we're able to implement that. How would that affect the access numbers?
Yeah, so we didn't include that, like, if you implemented everything in the Greenway Trail Plan, how would that improve your access? But we can, and so I think, that would definitely increase your access significantly. So that's a big piece of why we want to, incorporate those recommendations and ensure that that plan continues to move forward, because, we were only looking at existing parks.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
absolutely, if you were able to build out that trail system and add some of those green spaces, that would definitely improve your access.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to see kind of, in the final, once we get everything laid out, just to make sure that we have sort of a, picture of reality. And I think in our conversation initially, that was one of the things I said, is like, let's make sure we don't make plans for things we don't own. And let's make sure, if we have a plan for something we don't own, that the first step is acquiring it. And I think this would fall into that. We may not know, but that could be the thing we need to work on executing to fix it. The other piece is there was on the map a missing parcel, actually right at the trailhead of our model mile for the Greenway Trail. It's right next to the post office. It's actually about a 2.25 acre lot that the city owns, right along a creek. So is that, I don't know if we just need to make sure.
Yeah,
that
we can just
included?
add that. It just wasn't reflected as city-owned.
Okay.
Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure that gets included, because that might
Okay.
bump our numbers up a little bit.
Yeah.
And we own it already, so we
Yeah.
can totally develop it, and it's also connected to the first phase of the trail plan. So those are the only two things.
Yeah, that's what, thank you for bringing that up, because I didn't know if you included it with Friendship Forest or what happened with that piece.
Okay. Is that considered an open park space at this
It
time?
was to be a park.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we purchased it
Two
3
years
somewhere in the
ago.
last 2-3 years, yeah.
Okay.
3 years ago.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yeah, I
can
think it
just
may be
make a
marked
point?
as a city-owned park site. And so that all will become part of the vision, where we start to look at, what are those city-owned parcels that have potential to be parkland, what has been already recommended through those other plans for park spaces, green spaces. And so when we develop that vision, that's where all of that comes in, where we say this is what the park system should look like in the next 10 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to see, because I think that would impact even some of our numbers that we have in terms of access, and then
Yeah.
affect the strategy. So
Absolutely.
we'd appreciate that getting added.
Okay, and City Manager?
Yes, ma'am. I just want to make a point about the percentage of access. We may want to, I know that there's been some collaboration between Perez and the consultant that's doing the Greenway Plan, which is Atkins. Presently, there are 4 different designs, and I think that the final and recommended design is going to be, the design is going to determine the percentage of access based on, which green infrastructure points that the trail touches. So as we determine what that looks like in the next steering committee meeting, then they'll have that information available for you.
Great.
All right, thank you so
Thank you.
much. You take care. Okay, so we're going to move to 4. Now, I'm just going to spice it up a little bit, right? For one thing, the public comment that you see here is normally what we would have during council meeting. So I'm going to oblige that. So you get a twofer. So you get to speak not only, and I'm going to cut it to 20 minutes this time, but you get to speak also on agenda items as well as right now, and then you'll be able to come back next week when we have council meeting to speak as well. But I know that there's some people that may have seen it and thought they'd have the opportunity, and I wanted to make sure to give them an opportunity to speak. So with our new clerk, did we have anyone signed up to speak?
Mayor, I have a quick question.
Yes.
20 minutes, that's 20 minutes total and 3 minutes each?
Yes, yes. So let me read it out. Any member of the public may address the council during the time allotted for public comment. Each attendee will be allowed 3 minutes for comments at the discretion of the presiding officer. The public comment period will last limited to, I'm going to do 20 minutes. And it is not a time for dialogue. If your public comment contains a series of questions, please submit those to the city clerk in writing. This will facilitate follow-up by the council or staff. The city council desires to allow an opportunity for public comment. However, the business of the city must proceed in an orderly and timely manner. So with that, Madam Clerk, did we have anyone sign up?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, I did sign up. I sent the email to the entire city council and city manager Thornton and was invited to come to speak at this time.
Yes, ma'am. She's going by the sign-up sheet that was out there. That's why she said no. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So with that, do we have anyone who'd like to come and speak? All right, Miss Julie, come up.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for hearing me. I've sent all of City Council, City Manager, and the Mayor a memo. I hope you all have had a chance to read it. I'm Julie Oininen, longtime resident of Clarkston and a constitutional civil rights attorney. I'm here on behalf of the concerns of numerous Clarkston residents and homeowners, and many of us are here today. If you just raise your hand. I'm going to be as quick as I can. If I run out of time, I ask that I be able to share my 3 minutes with someone. And if I can't share someone's 3 minutes, I'm going to hand off my paper and give it to them to read it to you. Over 10,000 more ICE employees are being hired before year's end. Large detention centers are being built up all over the United States and Georgia. The latest in Oakwood, Georgia, just less than 48 hours ago, less than an hour away. Another in Social Circle, ICE plans for a facility that is supposed to hold up to 10,000 people that is supposed to be opened up in 60 days, early May. This is not a question of when, but if, when regarding ICE is going to be targeting our community, specifically this community. We see billboards off of exit 40, both northbound and southbound, targeting us with threats. We know where they're coming from. We know Clarkston, with nearly over half of our community historically being made up of immigrant families, we are facing the largest mass deportation in our country's history, with over 4,000 documented illegal arrests. Let me repeat that. Those are the illegal ones that the judges have determined ICE to release back arrested U.S. citizens and other lawful residents, green card holders, asylum seekers, along with engaging in multiple human rights abuses and civil rights violations against thousands of people. Documented ICE attorneys have testified in U.S. Congress that have stepped down and resigned because they're being pressured to violate the U.S. Constitution, and they took an oath, just like all of you, to affirm and uphold what? The United States Constitution. That's your oath, above and beyond any Georgia Republican-led legislation that's been passed. That is subservient to the U.S. Constitution each of you swore to uphold. HB 1105 that was passed by the 2024 Republican legislature in Georgia is currently unconstitutional as stands. It's trying to pressure all local law enforcement into the 287G program that deputizes local. I ask that I have.
I'll give you 2 minutes. I'll give you 2 more minutes.
I'm going to run out of time. She's going to have to read my thing. It tries to force local law enforcement into the 287 program as stands, and it faults the resolution that was marked as Exhibit A to your memo, stands as unconstitutional, and falsely states that 35117 requires us to cooperate with ICE by enforcing detainer request. That is incorrect. The only requirement for enforcing detainer request is for those cities that have municipal detention facilities under 42-1-11.5. That fifth whereas should be revoked. The policies that Ms. Thornton, I know you got from legal advice, I'm sure, they are lifted off templates and samples created by Red Republican Georgia Municipal Association templates, and inaccurately state that 35-117B2 and code sections 50-36-4B that the GA requires cities to cooperate with ICE and enforce detainer requests, and if ICE responds accordingly, we shall enter into a MOU pursuant to OCG A 35-117. I love Stephen Quinn, he's done a good job, but if he's telling you all that, it's wrong. That is conservative and Republican leaning. It is absolutely incorrect interpretation of the law. The statute requires us to shall seek such MOUs annually with no current memorandums, and no current memorandum of agreement is in effect. Currently, the policy is stating given to city employees, law enforcement, as if it is, yet it does not obligate us to execute and enter into such an agreement. We must not enter into an MOU agreement. In 2017, Decatur bravely stood up to the Republican lieutenant governor alongside Stevens' firm when accused of being a sanctuary city. You, as Clarkston's people representatives, have a responsibility to our people.
You get 2 more minutes.
Thank you, Mayor
That's it.
Burks.
I gave her 2, that's it.
Thank you, Mayor Burks.
Mhm.
We have seen over and over again where universities and government officials capitulate to authoritarianism. But those who stand up, whether it's been court challenges to Trump's unlawful executive orders or the last time the Georgia Republican legislature enacted anti-immigration legislation back in 2017, that was defeated, that those statutes and the provisions were deemed unconstitutional. I'm going to email you all the link to all that case. The last time it was challenged, the courts issued a preliminary injunction and the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed that those portions were unconstitutional. We have a chance in history to stand up for the right thing, and if not us, who is going to challenge it if not us? We have a chance to join in a class action challenging the legislation as unconstitutional. Multiple highly respected legal groups and nonprofits are taking this case on pro bono. It would not cost us attorneys' fees a dime as taxpayers. Seeking a court declaratory judgment does not waive or lose our right to obtain state or federal funding as long as we remain in compliance of federal or state law. But we must challenge it. I urge you to appoint an exploratory committee or task force to research the issue of joining in a constitutional challenge of HB 1105. I'm happy to volunteer my services pro bono to ensure you are obtaining advice from both sides and have opportunity to speak to these legal advocacy nonprofits. Again, simply seeking a court to declare judgment on the constitutionality provision of whether something is lawful is not unlawful to do. It does not render us out of compliance, waive our funding, or cost taxpayers money. It is the right thing to do to defend democracy and defend our community members from the ever-encroaching onslaught of fascism. I'm happy to serve as a volunteer on a legal task force to assist your city attorney, who I support, even though I might have criticized, in drafting recommendations. I have one last sentence.
Okay.
I recommend first to amend the resolution carefully. Don't revoke it, just amend it and take out those last sentences. Second, amend the policies that Ms. Thornton produced me. Again, do it carefully. Stephen will let you know how to do it. Third, explore joining this class action which challenges the unconstitutional provisions of this law and honors your oath. First, to serving the people of our community. You are our people's representative. And second, to upholding your oath to honor the U.S. Constitution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone else who wanted to speak at this time? Do we have anyone else who wanted to speak at this time? Do we have anyone else who wanted to speak at this time? And at this time, the public, come on.
I would just, as a resident
And
of
state your
Clarkston,
name.
Deborah Herberger.
Okay.
I've been a resident of the Clarkston area for over 28 years, and have been so impressed by law enforcement in the Clarkston area and how they contribute to community building, and hope that they can teach federal law enforcement some things about compassion and law enforcement. So I hope that you will take into great consideration what you just heard and do the right thing for us in our community.
Okay, thank you. So, do we have anyone else who wants to speak? Come on up, state your name.
My name is Jennifer.
Pull it down.
Like this?
That's better.
Okay. My name is Jennifer Towns. I've been a resident of Clarkston since 2014. I am an academic librarian at Emory University. I've been an academic librarian for my entire career. I've made my career championing information literacy and critical thinking. I value facts and accuracy, but even more so, I value community and my neighbors and pretty much everything Clarkston stands for. I, as Deborah and my other neighbors and Julie has said, I urge you to consider Julie's proposal, and please let's keep Clarkston safe and keep our neighbors together and keep our community as close and tight-knit and together as possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone else who wanted to speak? Do we have anyone? Come on down. State your name.
Good evening, all. My name is Tiffany Pomares, and I just want to reiterate my support for Julie's proposal. As a federal employee myself, one person who's taken the same oath of office as many federal employees across the United States, we just need to protect the Constitution, and we need to protect our people. And when I moved to Clarkston just over a year ago, one of the things I really wanted was this community, like the diversity that I so value, and the idea that so soon after moving here, that might be destroyed breaks my heart, and I really hope that you'll consider her proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who wants? So if you'd like to speak, thank you. Make sure you state your name.
Thank you. I apologize for not signing up earlier.
That's okay.
My name is Angela Kaler. I am a resident of Clarkston since 2019. I am a senior policy analyst with the Government Accountability Office, also a federal employee, so I've also taken that same oath. I just want to voice my support as well for Julie's proposal. I understand how nuanced policy and law can be. The interpretations of it can be very nuanced. There can be a variety of ways of being in compliance. And as city officials, you have an opportunity to decide how you implement these laws and policies. There are requirements, and then there are gray areas, and there are areas that aren't even spoken to. And we need to ensure that we do everything we can to protect the strength of Clarkston, which is our diversity. I know that's what brought many of us to the city of Clarkston. And it's so important also that all of our neighbors feel safe with our law enforcement. All of us are safer if everyone feels safe calling the police when they need them. And so if people are afraid to call the police, the entire town, the entire area is less safe. So anything that we can do to ensure that our residents trust our police officers makes all of us safer. So I would just urge you as well to consider what Julie has proposed and to look at the interpretations of HB 11, I think it's 1105, again, and how we're implementing it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Come on up. And how much time do we have left, clerk? Okay. Well, I think
4 minutes.
4 minutes, okay.
Hi, my name's Scott Damon. My wife Maureen Wallen is there. We've been residents in this area since 1998. And like everyone else you've heard from, we moved here because of the character of Clarkston. I'd just like to say that I think this is an opportunity for Clarkston to stand up, and we all know Clarkston is being targeted, so let's stand up and show that we don't go along with what we're going to hear in about an hour. Today, when I was driving back from an errand, I saw an accident at Belglade in Norman at the cemetery. One of the vehicles was a Vietnamese woman and her son. The other vehicle had a two Muslim women, from what I could tell from hearing how they were speaking, and the Shador. And because the cars were in the intersection, I called the police, but I hesitated a little because I thought, are these people going to be afraid of the police showing up? That's not what we want to have. So please, we strongly support what Julie had to say.
Okay, thank you. Got 1 minute left with a little grace. Going once, going twice, and now we're going to close public comments. Thank you all for your comments and sharing. Okay, with that, let me do I am going to read the other public comments, just so you can have that. So any member of the public may address questions or comments to the council referencing only agenda items after the mayor and council have had the opportunity to discuss the agenda item. Each attendee will be allowed 3 minutes for comment. So I wanted to make sure for the actual work session, you knew the protocol for that. We will now move into new business, and that's to discuss 6A, a resolution to deny the claims for damage asserted by claimants Charles Jr., a.k.a. Zion Bay, and Deborah Hedgeman. And I'll let city manager defer to staff.
Yes, ma'am. I'll just defer to the city attorney, please.
All right.
Put your mic on.
It's on.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we have here a resolution to deny a claim. We've done this before. The reason to take formal action is because under Georgia law, that's necessary to start the statute of limitations ticking, which will then give 2 years for the claimant to bring a claim if they want to. We've been requested to deny the claim by our insurer. I can summarize the incident if you like. This is a traffic stop incident. The complaining individual, Mr. Jr., who apparently refers to himself as Zayn Bey, is his written communication and his interaction with the officers displays the hallmarks of what we know as sovereign citizens, who are individuals that believe the law does not apply to them. Perhaps pursuant to those beliefs, he had not registered his vehicle. or paid his tax on the vehicle, and when asked to produce his license, and then when asked to exit the vehicle, he refused to comply. Eventually, the officer used force in, he wasn't injured, but the officer broke his windshield and handcuffed him, window and handcuffed him. We received this complaint. Before we even received the complaint, the police department self-initiated a review. They reviewed video and they reviewed policies, and they determined that the use of force employed was justified and limited to the minimum necessary under the circumstances. And so, those being the facts, that's recited in the resolution, and our insurer has asked to take this step to start that clock ticking.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions as it relates to this item? Okay. Hearing none, is this something in terms of consent?
I think so.
Consent?
Yep.
Okay, consent, okay. I know that Councilwoman Adeed, I think, is she online, James? Okay. Councilwoman?
Yes, I'm online.
Okay, you're okay with consent?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, and Vice Mayor said unless something changes, she's okay too.
Okay.
All right. So we can have that as a consent item. Okay. We'll move on to B, which is to discuss a proclamation designating March as Women's History Month and recognize a Clarkston citizen, and that's number 1, Clarkston Women's History Month. City Manager.
Yes, ma'am, I would defer to Ms. Yolanda McGee.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager, and wow, it's a nice audience. I wish everyone would have stayed. But this is important because Clarkston is a city of women. So the Women's History Month is celebrated each March since 1987, honors the extraordinary contributions women have made to history, culture, and society. The city of Clarkston proudly joins in this meaningful observance to celebrate the resilience, leadership, faith, and culture and impact women within our community. So this is unusual and this is our first time, so please give us grace. There was a constant contact, reach out to nominate a woman from the community that the community felt was deserving of something special. I am so sorry I tricked you, Ms. Durant. Could you please come up? So I had some really interesting conversation these past 2 days with Ms. Durant, so I definitely needed to tell her that, not quite what she thought it was.
I thought I was talking about housing. And I'm almost glad I'm not, because I didn't have my village like Miss Julie did.
But I asked you to bring one.
So come back Monday.
Ms. Durant's journey is marked by persistence, faith, and forward movement. She represents women who refuses to quit when doors close and who turns challenges into meaningful community impact. Her story reminds us that leadership is defined not by title, but by action and service. Rather than stepping back, because she did run for council, guys. I think we messed up a little bit there. So she did run for council, and although she was not elected, she embraced the experience as confirmation that her voice mattered. I am so honored to say that I think we met when I first got here, right? And I've had the pleasure of speaking with Ms. Durant and sharing information. She's sharing information relating to housing with me and trying to help her fix it. So on behalf of the city of Clarkston.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Oh, yay.
We want to show you some love and let you know that we appreciate you. We appreciate all of your efforts. We appreciate the help that you are giving to our residents, the meaningful impact that you are making, and we just want to say thank you. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's what we want to make sure.
We're gonna get some pictures.
We're gonna take a, did we have anything else?
We do.
Okay.
Keisha, you gonna get the picture?
Well, I was gonna do both at one time. Yes.
Okay, so, it took some really CIA clandestine with this one they're here. This was selected through staff. Same methods. There was an email blast announced, and staff had to come together and choose their person, and I am honored to say, I might get in trouble, so y'all help me with this.
Okay.
That our staff winner is none other than our own Miss Shaquia Miller Thornton. I said I've been trickery all week. So, Miss Miller Thornton, we appreciate you.
Rhonda, you are fired.
Not today, though, right? So, we have had the pleasure of Miss Miller Thornton coming in, and when I say she is making a real difference in this office administratively, I have to applaud her. Not only is she stylish, I always call her my Vogue girl, but she is a woman of integrity. She has great leadership, and she is mindful of her staff. She shows compassion. I've been dealing with some things medically, and I can't say anything but the compassion that she has shown me. So on behalf of your entire staff, we just want to say we appreciate you. We thank you for coming into Clarkston. We thank you for your integrity. We thank you for your leadership. And we just overall thank you for being you. So here I go again, right, guys? So, Ms. Miller Thornton, we just want to say we appreciate you and we thank you.
All right.
So I'll take the finals off.
Okay, so we're gonna go down. That's why you saw me in the suite a lot.
So you should have. Let me grab you for the
So I'm going to do one Android and one iPhone.
Here we go. All right, here we go. Here we go, big people. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. And 3, 2, 1. And then we'll take this. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Let me do one more. Here we go, folks. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Last one. 3, 2, 1. You see what happened? Don't get mad at the method. That works. Last one. Last one. Thank you.
Oh, 586.
Remember the last one? I was like, Happy Founders Day, brothers. I was like, I should have seen a picture.
Wait a minute. Okay, we got to talk later.
I got stories. This is that fun telling stories. I'm just saying.
Long story. You with Bill Clinton now. So, okay, everyone. So, again, we're going to put if everyone's okay for the actual proclamation, that we can put that on consent agenda. Consent. Councilwoman Adee?
Consent.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to C, which is to discuss the appointment of Gennaro Marcar to the Downtown Development Authority for a term that expires on December 31st, 2030. City Manager Thornton.
Yes, ma'am, we'll defer to Mr. Richard Edwards.
And so is for items E and F, we're going to defer those as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. On this item, Mr. Gennaro Marcar, he is authorized to be a member of the DDA. I've checked with the DDA attorney, Mr. Kyle Williams, and he has given the thumbs up that he is qualified. He has worked in and around the Clarkston area for the last 8 years and is currently in commercial real estate. So we do believe that he is more than qualified, and he is here to speak with, if you would like to hear from him as well. Thank you.
Well, come on up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gennaro. I grew up in Clarkston, so lived in Clarkston for a very long time. Went to Georgia State, kind of always been around the Clarkston area. And then after college, worked in staffing, so helping people in Clarkston get jobs, which is really good, right? And then from there, ended up working into commercial real estate. And so my entire goal behind this is I would love to see Clarkston continue to grow. This is where I currently live, and so would truly appreciate you guys considering me for this role. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? With that, can we put that as consent?
Yes.
Consent. There you go. And now you're sitting next to one of your colleagues right there on the DDA, Miss Michelle. She's just going to get you acclimated real quick. Okay. I see her doing copious notes over there. All right, we'll move on to E, which is to discuss a resolution establishing regulatory fees for sign permits. One of my favorite things. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. On this one, so there's 4 sign fees here. The temporary signs, wall signs, and ground signs, staff is not proposing any changes to, but we did not have a refacing permanent sign fee in our code. This is essentially if you've got a big sign and you just want to change out a panel, it's a flat fee of $50 because there is a little bit less review from staff that goes into it. And other than that, I'll turn it over to any questions.
Okay. Any questions? Are we good?
I do one
Yes.
quick.
Yes.
So on the
Councilman Perkins.
Oh, thank you. On the refacing for permanent signs, we're basically saying if somebody needs to update a sign that's broken, we're going to charge them a fee for that? Or-
Yes, we do. Just to make sure it still meets the code, we do review it for that. Or some of the older signs that we have in the city still have big plastic covers. So if they're replacing those plastic covers, they can do that with just the $50 fee as opposed to 10% of whatever it costs to manufacture.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that's the thing.
Yeah, so it would typically be cheaper with just the $50 since we're reviewing less.
Okay, sure thing. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I understood that. So,
Councilman Moore.
Yeah, there's a typo.
All right.
On page 68 at the top, it says stormwater vault inspections, 100 per visit. I think that's supposed to be $100.
Yeah, that's on the next one, but I will look at that.
Okay. So with that, is this consent?
yes.
Consent? Consent. Councilwoman Adee? Well,
Consent.
okay,
Consent.
all right, great. I know there's a little lag. Thank you. And we'll move on to F, which is to discuss a resolution establishing regulatory fees for land development permits. Mr. Edwards.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. On this one, we're just kind of breaking everything out into individual line items as opposed to one big lump sum so that we know what we're accurately charging for everything. The only increases we have here are some of the inspections. Those fees did go up based on our consultant's hourly fee for those inspections, so just make sure the city is recovering those costs from our consultants.
And as mentioned, Councilman Moore, would you like to bring your comment up?
Yes.
At the top of page 68, we can make a $ for 100 per visit.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So we'll get that added in for the record. Okay. With that, we'll have consent, consent, consent. Councilwoman Adie?
Consent.
All right.
Consent.
Thank you. So we'll move on to G, which is to discuss a resolution supporting a Community Development Assistance Program, CDAP, application to the Atlanta Regional Commission, ARC, for a housing assessment in the amount of $7,500. City Manager.
Yes, ma'am. We'll defer to Mr. Richard Edwards.
Okay.
But I also want to thank both he and our economic mobility specialist, McKinley, for working on this application.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. So it's another year for the Community Development Assistance Program. Last year, we utilized this program to do a housing summit. So this year, we are suggesting that we go ahead and apply for a full housing assessment. And it would be in the amount of $7,500. And it would be ARC staff that would be supporting this. And Mr. McKinley Jeter would be leading those efforts as our new economic mobility manager. And another update on housing, as of today, we found out we were accepted into the Enterprise Rural Housing Academy, so we'll be working with cities from all across the country on ways to best development housing projects within our city. So another kudos to Mr. Jeter on setting that up for us and getting us more involved.
All right, thank you all. So any questions?
Just to clarify, Mayor, if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
The $7,500 is the city's portion of the...
Yes, the $7,500 is what we would directly pay ARC at the beginning of this process, and those would be the only fees we would incur. We do believe that there'll probably be some more fees with translation services and maybe some meeting spaces down the road, but we don't foresee more than maybe $2,000 more for this.
Okay. All right, thank you. With that, any other questions? Consent? Consent?
Consent.
Consent.
Thank you. All right, we're on a roll. H, and that is to discuss approval of a contract with Yeager and Kurt LLC, Julie A. Kurt, to perform all functions and duties of the prosecuting attorney of the Clarkston Municipal Court, i.e. serve as city solicitor, and to perform such other legally permissible and proper duties and functions as said position should require. City Manager Thornton.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm presenting this on behalf of our city clerk, Ms. Lillian Triplett. Of course, the purpose of this item is to provide prosecuting attorney solicitor services for the city of Clarkston. Ms. Julie Kirk already provides that service within our municipal court setting, and so this agreement, of course, provides for her continuation in that role.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions? Okay, is that consent?
Yes.
Question?
Yes, ma'am. I will just make one note that the cost increases from her present $2,000 per month to $2,500 per month, but that increase was already budgeted within the city's fiscal year 2026 budget.
Okay, thank you for noting that. With that being said, is there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, and this is, we don't have to change this one, right, in terms of making it 2-year. This stays the same.
In fact, for the solicitor, there is no state law requirement in terms of the length of the agreement.
Okay.
So what I have prepared prepared here makes it for an indefinite duration, so that either the city council or the solicitor could give 60 days notice to change the position, but it wouldn't be necessary to vote annually unless you wanted to make a change.
Okay. All right, thank you. I just want to make note of that. With that being said, can we also have this as consent? Consent. Councilwoman?
Consent.
All right, thank you. Now, this won't be consent, but this is a motion. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second? It has been properly moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Meeting is adjourned.